Got a word from our sponsor, Manscaped. They're the leaders in below the belt male grooming. They're the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. The Lawnmower 4.0 is still undefeated to this day. Nobody has beaten it. Ceramic blades, advanced skin safe technology to help cut down on those grooming accidents. It is waterproof so you can shave in the shower, and it has an LED light so you can shave in the dark in the shower. But do not get out of that shower because we have package deals for you, man. In case you're a fan of package deals, Manscaped has the performance package, right? Now, in the performance package, it comes with the Lawnmower 4.0. It comes with the Weed Whacker, which is a nose and ear hair trimmer, right? So you shave up your man parts, then you hit your nose, then you hit your ears. Well, what else comes with that performance package? You got ball toner, you got ball deodorant. Bro, Manscaped even comes with complimentary Manscaped boxers. I have graduated them to my lucky draws. And if you act now, you get a Manscaped travel shed bag to keep all of your goodies in. Listen, this is what I want to do. I want to save y'all some money. Voch says this. Go to manscaped.com. Get everything over there. Get the performance package. Throw a couple more lawnmowers in there. Use promo code VOCH20. VOCH 20 to get 20% off and free shipping. And don't forget that Manscaped ships internationally. All right, love y'all to pieces. Manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. I'm always curious as to how Cowboy fans decide which backup player they feel good about. You know, like which backup player do they end up giving most of their support to? You know, like I've seen Cowboy fans champion guys like Andy Jones or guys like Gus Johnson or, you know, guys like, you know, Rico Gathers, you know what I mean? Like I've seen Cowboy fans love those type of characters. And my first thought about that was, well, maybe they feel great about these characters because they feel so solid in what they have in the first team guys, right? You can feel solid about Andy Jones if you have an Amari Cooper or Michael Gallup, you know? If Gus Johnson is a guy that you feel good about, you feel good because, hey, Zeke is there, you know? Even with Rico Gathers, right? You know, we always hear things like, hey, we should use Rico Gathers more. I don't think anybody ever said Rico was better than Jason Witten, but we should just use Rico more. Then that made me think, right? This is all just me stacking thoughts on top of thoughts. Trust, we're going to get to Tony here. That made me think, okay, well, they trust these guys in that situation, but if Andy Jones or Andy Jones type wide receiver was your first team guy, how would you feel about him, right? And that just goes back to that Dennis Houston conversation we're having week 1 in Tampa Bay last year, right? You can love Dennis Houston all you want until it's time for Dennis Houston to play real dudes. Now, this is where all this kind of comes together. I wonder why there are so many barriers put up between Cowboy Nation and Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard has done nothing but just give you greatness. He steps in, whether it be, you know, support role to Zeke. He steps in whether, you know, hey, Zeke got hurt or Zeke is in trouble. Tony's going to carry the load now. And, you know, Voch is on record a long time ago. That's a good thing about the internet, man. It just doesn't go away. Voch is on record a long time ago saying, hey, man, if the Cowboys can't get this money situation figured out with Zeke with some good decency, just roll with Tony. Tony seems to be fine. You know, and this was back when Tony was wearing like 26 or something, like one of them goofy jersey numbers, you know, prior to him wearing 20. But maybe it's the ghost of Zeke. Maybe it's living in Zeke's shadow that kept Cowboy Nation from like taking Tony super seriously, right? Because every time, you know, Zeke will get in and Zeke will not do whatever, or he'll be whatever trouble, whatever the case was, right? Tony would get in, and the new excuse for why Tony couldn't carry much of the load was because, oh, Tony's a scat gadget back, and, you know, Voch had to drop some film and prove that that's not the case. Oh, well, Tony's not big enough to you know, take on all these hits in the league, and Tony like 217, 218 or something. Like, Tony's a big dude. Tony's not small, right? And that'll just keep going and going and going. Tony keep making big plays, even when Zeke's not there as the main guy, with Davis being his backup, Malik Davis being his backup, Tony being the lead guy. It's like Cowboy fans will constantly, not y'all, but them, they'll just constantly find a new excuse for Tony. Once upon a time, it's like, hey, I understand Tony just rushed for 150 yards on like 15 carries. I understand that he's leading the league in yards per carry, and I understand that he's dynamic and probably the most explosive player on the team right now, but I can't start Tony Pollard because he can't block on third downs.
Did you hear what I said?
Which is nonsense, because then Voch will go do a video of showing you how Tony Pollard blocks on third down, and that's some more nonsense, right? So when you look at Tony and you see all the great things about Tony being a guy that can do everything. Tony literally does everything. And now Cowboy Nation. And when I say Cowboy Nation, I don't mean like us that's watching right now. I'm talking about those characters, right? Cowboy Nation are literally ready to look us in the eye. I love this new camera I got. They want to look us in the eye and say, well, I don't want Tony doing too much. He can't have no more than 13 carries. Watching, what is he going to do on 3rd and 1? Man, listen, you want to know what You want to know what Tony Pollard can do on 3rd and 1? Catch the football out the backfield on 3rd and 1. You know what I mean? How about you run out to the flats and let Dak just dump the ball off to you and let Tony go and be great on 3rd and 1? How about that? I don't understand this brand new narrative that Tony Pollard is one of the fastest players on your team, one of the most dynamic players on your team, one of the most explosive players on your team. I don't understand how Tony can be all those things for you, but then you're constantly going to find new ways to tell us why Tony doesn't qualify. And I think I learned. I think I, figured this out with more thinking about, with more pondering about. I don't know why I keep trying to defend these people, but I at least want to understand why they think the way that they think. Y'all remember when Dalton Schultz was supposed to be a guy? Right? And Dalton Schultz hadn't been full-time starter yet, and it was just question marks about Dalton Schultz. It was like, hey man, we've lived in this world with Jason Witten and James Hanna and them, you know what I mean? How can we ever replace the production of Witten and James Hanna, And the reason why I bring up Dalton Schultz is because now we're having this same conversion from Dalton Schultz to Jake Ferguson, right? Like, Dalton Schultz was not a special player. Dalton Schultz was not some high draft pick. Dalton Schultz is not some dude that was just untouchable. Like, he was behind Jeff Swaim and Blake Jarwin. Like, he was behind those guys, right? But the fact that Dalton Schultz played and that we trust him enough to play, that's what makes it enough. So you can go, well, Voch, those however many yards, those 1,300 yards that Witten had and those however many touchdowns, right? Can Dalton Schultz do that? Yes, because he's on the field. That brings me to my point. Back to Tony Pollard, right? You can look me all up in the face and say, well, Voch, Zeke had about how many yards Zeke had? However many Zeke yards, let's just say 800, right? Voch, Zeke had 800 yards and 12 touchdowns. However, are you going to replace those 12 touchdowns and those 800 yards, Voch? Well, shit, Tony gonna catch some of them. Tony gonna run some of them, being a full-time guy. Tony's gonna get touchdowns from catching the football, from running, from all those things. Malik's gonna get involved. All of a sudden, we're the only team in the league where we got to have a top tier ass backup quarterback. Backup running back. We're the only team in the league that needs that. Every other team in the league has miscellaneous, strange, never heard of character as they backup running back, and that backup player is fine as that backup running back. We're the only team, and when I say we, I mean them, the only group of fan base that's saying, yo, Voch, you think we could trade for Derrick Henry to go along with Tony Pollard? You think we can go sign Dalvin Cook to go along with Tony Pollard? Man, bro, we are fine with Ronald Jones and Malik Davis being backup running backs. Those dudes aren't the top guys. And I think a lot of this Tony Pollard question marks just came from the idea that we haven't seen Tony do it for the entire season yet, right? The whole Tony can't run between the tackles thing, that's the narrative. I went to go pull a whole bunch of film, and I got a whole bunch of plays of Tony Pollard running in between the tackles. It was quite fun when I saw him do it. Oh, well, Tony can't break tackles, Voch. Well, they grab Tony and they sling him around because Tony's so light. Once again, Tony damn near 220, and Tony may not be Zeke in terms of running through tackles or whatever, but Tony does get busy when he runs through tackles in his own right? So what's this new narrative, Voch? What are we gonna do now? What lie are we gonna post on Tony Pollard? The whole injury thing. Oh, Tony Pollard had a clean break of his leg last year, and he's bound to be out for the season. Man, I've seen y'all have more faith in other players that have had worse injuries than a clean break on the leg. Tony having a a clean leg break means that his leg comes back better, bro. Like we just gotta stop coming up with these excuses. Cause look, the more I watch Tony Pollard, man, I went back to watch Tony from last year. I even went back to year before last watching Tony. I didn't include the clips from year before last. Cause that was a lot of work. But I did just watch a whole bunch of Tony, and there's no way you can watch that dude and be like, nah, that dude ain't, that's not my guy. That ain't gonna be, nope. I think this offense has gotten so much better simply by subtraction, right? And that's not me poo-pooing on Zeke. Shouts out to Zeke. He's a Cowboy legend, Cowboy Ring of Honor guy. He did fantastic things for this organization. But when I look at what Cousin Tony does for this team, bro, the run game gets better simply because we don't have to deal with Zeke on 1st and 10 getting a 1 yard gain, it being 2nd and 9, and Dak or Tony having to throw or run out of that. Automatically gets better. Right, you add the idea of Brandon Cooks and maybe Jake Ferguson being a better yak guy than Dalton Schultz. Maybe we got to have a conversation about Ferguson and Schultz also. But just those players alone, they're going to make Tony Pollard even better. They're going to make the run game even better. Like, I don't know how much more confidence you need in Tony besides Tony. Every time Tony's been asked to carry the football, he's done it greatly. I don't think Tony's ever had a bad running day. Tony has had some days to where Kellen Moore just wouldn't give him the football, right? To just Kellen Moore just wouldn't hand it to him. But Tony Pollard has never had a day to where, all right, we just fed the hell out of Tony and he was just trash. I ain't never seen none of them days before. So I'm excited to see what Tony can bring to the table, and y'all should too. We shouldn't just live in the shadow of the old player, you know, because once upon a time, DeMarco Murray was a guy, and no matter what we keep saying about the running back position, you know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, Voch, what we gonna do? What we gonna do about DeMarco Murray not being here or whatever? We'll go and find a washed Darren McFadden and plugged him right in, and Darren McFadden was just fine. So just imagine what it's gonna be like when you plug in top tier, not a lot of tread on the tire, still in his prime, Tony Pollard to move on from Zeke. It's gonna be a fun little party. All right, appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. Love y'all to pieces. I got a little more research to do. Still studying CD Lamb film. That's going to be a fun film session, a fun little rollout. We got some Osa Odigi Zuwa coming up too. And we got training camp in a couple of weeks. All right, lay out the pieces. Hold down for the Doski Wilson Peace Whiskey. Volume will be back. I'll let you know. Peace.